Hi everyone, this is Coach Giannis from Olympus Pro Performance Coaching. Today's video is about deadlifts and some of the variations of the deadlifts. And as we discussed in the previous video about the squats, the reason we're doing that is to show you why a deadlift is a good exercise to include on your training programs and your workouts, and how basically deadlift mimics the way that we ride the bikes, and most importantly is to understand that if you implement it properly, you can actually improve your performance. If you're just doing it for the sake of it, you're just going to become better for that specific exercise. Now, why deadlift is so good for mountain biking and motocross? Because it mimics pretty well actually the way we stand on the bike. So if you think about it, when we actually ride a motocross bike, we're in this kind of position, okay? So feet are basically parallel pretty much. And then from there, obviously you hold the bars in each kind of position. So if you have a good posture and you know how to use your hips basically, and make sure your back as well is nice in this nice position, then you have a good posture. Then obviously you'll be able to perform on the bike for longer and better. When you're on the bike, you're basically in a kind of split position, but again, you're kind of leaning forward. So predominantly, when we ride bikes, we use the hips and the legs. However, there is a lot of stress basically that passes through the back, and that's why we need to have a very, very strong back as well, and generally a posterior chain. And what's the posterior chain? Posterior chain basically starts from all the way up on your back and finishes all the way down to your heels, and that's basically is the muscles that support the whole posterior chain, which basically going down the line it supports you to be in a good position on the bike. So now let's go and see some of the variations we're going to do. We're going to start basically with the easiest exercise, and then just going to finish with the most difficult. So one of the easiest way basically to do a deadlift, because deadlift demands a lot of flexibility. It's if you're not sure how to do it, you can start basically doing it with some kettlebells. So with a single kettlebell, we can do actually an easy variation of the conventional deadlifts. So bend the knees, make sure you have an upright posture, and then push through the heels, engage your abs, and bring it up. Okay. And if I show you on the side as well, you'll see basically that my back is actually quite flat. So nice and flat. Make sure you lock the shoulders nicely back so you can have a nice flat back, and then engage your abs, as we said. That way we make sure basically that we're not actually putting any unnecessary stress on the back, just by engaging the abs. Okay, another way to do it is with dumbbells. Okay, either single dumbbell, and then you have again the same variation with the kettlebell, or you can do like a Romanian deadlift with the dumbbells. So basically we stop right in the middle of the shins and we bring the weight right exactly in front of the shins. Okay, same way like before, we make sure we have a nice flat back, make sure we engage the abs, so we don't put any unnecessary stress on them on the back, and also make sure you push through the heels. So the next now variation I'm going to show you is going to be the Hex Deadlift, which basically is one exercise I use pretty much always with my athletes, and usually I use it instead of the conventional deadlift, and that's because it's safer, it's easier to learn, and it's more effective if you want to increase your strength. Why is it more effective? Again, because it's easier. So on the Hex Deadlift, once we get into the bar, make sure you hold basically the grips right in the middle, and like all the other deadlifts, what we want to make sure is that we have a flat back, that we engage basically the abs in order to support the back, and when we're ready to lift, we push through the heels and engage the abs and drive up. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, now why I'm using the high grips and I'm using basically the lower grips, that has to do basically with your body type as well, your actual height, okay, and the range of movement. So basically it has to do with the reach. For me, that's pretty much what I need for what I want to achieve. So that's why I'm using these grips. Just to show you basically how to do it as well on the side. Get a nice position, push through, simple. So now I'm going to show you basically the conventional deadlift. Just make it clear that the conventional deadlift is not worse than the Hex deadlift that I showed you before. It's just a little bit different and it's more technical and demands more flexibility. And that's why we don't use it so much. Remember, we want to make it easy to make gains and faster in order to be able to progress basically on our sport. So let's go and see now the conventional deadlift. So I'm going to show you now the side, so I'm going to explain you basically the movement. So, like in all deadlifts, again, what we want to do basically is make sure we have a nice flat back, that we push through the heels, engage the abs. Okay? So three basically fundamental things that we need to make sure we do. However, why it's so difficult is because a lot of people don't have the mobility on the ankles or the mobility on the back or flexibility. And that basically gives them a lot of restriction, and when they're trying to do it, they either have rounded back or simply they just can't get the position right in order to lift the back safely. Okay? While with the Hex bar, you can do that easier, and that's basically the reason. So this is how it looks from the side. Now what happens if you don't have a Hex bar in your gym? That's fine. We can use the bar if you can do conventional deadlift. If not, then you can use either kettlebells or dumbbells. It's just be creative basically and find a way to do it. So now I'm going to show you the last variation basically, which is going to be the single leg deadlift and the single leg Romanian deadlift. And the reason is because although we do use bilateral movements, which means basically both legs at the same time when we do our sports, very often we use also single legs, and that's for example on the bike, on the bike you're in this position, while on the motocross you're in this position. When you're in the corner and you need to drop the leg, again you're basically single leg. So then the single leg deadlift can be with a kettlebell or with a dumbbell. If it's with a kettlebell, then we can do actually a single leg deadlift, not Romanian deadlift, and that's basically is what you want. You want to place the kettlebell between the ball of your feet, and then from there you slightly bend the knee, make sure you have a nice flat back, grab the kettlebell, push through the heel, engage the abs and drive it up. That's basically a single leg deadlift. On the side. Okay. Now what happens if we don't have good balance? There's a different way to do it as well, and this way is basically rather just lifting the leg all the way up. What you can do, you can swipe the leg, touch down with the toes, okay, so you still basically have very good balance, and push through the leg and the hip, lift and stabilize again yourself, okay? This way, swipe, touch down so you have still the balance, push through the leg, come up, okay? And what I'm going to do with the Romanian deadlift is basically we can use the dumbbells, either both dumbbells or single dumbbell, it depends as well how much resistance you want and also how advanced you are with your balance. Or it depends again how much we want to mimic our sport as well. So on that movement we have basically both dumbbells. And why it's Romanian deadlift a little bit different from the normal deadlift is because we don't touch down the weight, we don't rest the weight down the floor, we stop in the middle of the shins. So with both dumbbells looks like this. Okay, show you on the side as well. Now, like before, if you don't have a good balance, you can actually go all the way down, touch on the toes basically on the floor, and then from there, push through and come up straight. Okay, show you again. And you can also do it single arm. Same thing. Bit easier. Okay, that's it, guys, for this week. This was some of the variations that we use in the deadlift. I hope you found it quite useful. If you haven't watched the squat variations, go back and watch this one as well. The idea behind of this series of videos basically is to give you a bit more knowledge of why we're using the exercises and how to use the exercises a bit more wisely, rather than just doing basically for the sake of it. If you have any questions, just let me know by leaving a comment or just drop me an email. And if you like what you watched today, feel free to share it with your fellow riders and friends. And don't forget to follow us basically on Instagram, YouTube and Facebook. Until the next time, cheers guys.